Hello, and welcome to Ascended Masters Monthly, where we're going to be starting with Kuan Yin. This course is part of a monthly series, but this offering is for everyone because Kuan Yin is fundamental in her teaching of self-compassion and self-love, and that's the basis for the path of ascension. We're starting with Kuan Yin because she teaches us how to reconnect with the most important thing of all, which is our own self, our own essence. And in order to do that, that means that we need to connect in with our higher self, understand our own sovereignty. And the path to doing that is often through very deep self-compassion and self-love. So, how this class is going to proceed is I'm going to teach you all about Kuan Yin, share her story as a human who incarnated on Earth and then became eligible for a bodhisattva enlightenment Buddhahood, as we refer to it. We're going to go through her story. We're going to talk about her qualities, her abilities, ways to connect with her, how to discern and how to recognize, am I connecting with Kuan Yin, different ascended masters, or other things out there. And then I'm going to lead you through a journey with Kuan Yin where you will meet her directly. You will connect with her energy, her being, her essence, and really make and form that connection so that you can continue to develop your own personal connection with Kuan Yin in an ongoing way. Thank you so much for being here. And also, please pass along to anybody that you think would benefit from receiving and hearing this course. So, the name Kuan Yin means she who hears prayers. Okay. So, Kuan Yin is always listening to your prayers. If you give her a shout, if you call to her, she will be there. Okay. And what you're going to learn in this course is actually how to discern when she actually is there, how to discern has she heard you or not? But as we know her name, as it is said here, she who hears prayers indicates that yes, she is hearing your prayers. Okay. And we're going to talk also about throughout this course a mantra that you can use to connect very closely with her. So she's known as the goddess of compassion and mercy. She is really the ultimate feminine embodiment in a lot of ways. As I mentioned, she was a human being on Earth, and we'll get into her story more. But she was an embodied feminine that called in and connected with her true source and her true essence, her true divine feminine. In fact, she's considered by many to be a goddess, and she's considered also to be an enlightened being or a bodhisattva. Depending on whom you talk to, some say she's eligible for a bodhisattva or Buddhahood, but she has decided to stick around and to still be able to connect with and easily accessible to all of us to help us through our compassion journey. She's referred to as the Mother Mary of the East. And as I mentioned, she really guides us on this path of karuna, is a Sanskrit term for compassion, and she opens our heart through love. So again, Kuan Yin is she who hears prayers. He's also very protective, and especially with those who are children or of the feminine. She, as her own path, really had to reconnect with and reevaluate her own feminine beinghood when she was alive during her lifetime on Earth. So she's really passionate at helping other women and help them connect to their own sovereignty and their own divine feminine essence as well. Her mission is to decrease suffering. Now, that's both on a individual level and also on a worldwide level. So she's really committed, and that's part of what her mission is, and it's been given through Sophia, which we'll get into, the divine feminine, God, if we want to use those kinds of terms, who gave her both her name and as well as her name, her mission, which is to help the world decrease suffering through, again, self-compassion and self-love. She connects us to our gifts. She connects us to, our divine abilities, whether that be our claircognizance, our clairsentience, these abilities to perceive past the veil, past what's just in front of us on this earthly plane, and to tap into our multidimensional skills, our multidimensional abilities that may come in from other existences or other lifetimes. She helps us to connect with those as well. And she really does ultimately want to assist us all with reaching our own enlightenment, our own um, abilities to ascend and to reach our own spiritual goals and spiritual development. And she is also known as the Golden Light Dragon Teacher of Compassion. So, yes, she does work with dragon energy. If that is something that you connect with, you can definitely reach her through the Golden Dragon, as we will speak about more. So I've mentioned her core qualities, the core themes of Kuan Yin are again self-love, mercy, self-forgiveness, forgiveness of others, compassion for oneself, seeing the good in other people. Because as we will hear from her story, we will notice that she really had to give a lot of forgiveness both to herself for her experience, but and to others who harmed her in order to reach and to be able to engage in the alchemical process of transmuting lower frequency energies, such for her was around self-hatred and other difficulty, lower energies into higher energies, which ultimately she became her embodied self. So her story is really magnificent in also teaching how we can confront these lower energies, these lower frequency um, states of emotions and states of being and ways of thinking at times and challenge those in order to alchemize and transform ourselves into higher states of living and thinking that are in better alignment with our well-being. So she really helps us to kind of let go of that no longer serves us, including our own ways of thinking, our own patterns, our own judgments, all of that, and to really step in the fullness and the essence of who we are and what we're meant to really embody here during this lifetime. And yes, absolutely, is she working a lot with those of you who came here to do this heavy healing work, whether it be for you or your ancestors, those who are here on this earth to move us towards the rebalancing of the feminine and masculine on earth, to work with those who are light workers, absolutely with that golden ray of dragon energy. Yes, she absolutely is working with all of us in these ways. And she knows the struggle deeply that many of us have chosen to go through in this lifetime in order to transmute energy and in order to develop ourselves and to do so really for the better of society, humanity, the earth on bigger realms. So here she is coming in and really working with all of us on a super fundamental level, because if we don't have basic things such as love and self-acceptance, well, the rest of our life isn't really going to fall into place. These are really foundational core things that we all need to achieve and get to in our lives as building blocks, really, to attract to us what we desire in our lives, whether that be a relationship, whether that be particular career, whether that be a particular living environment or experiencing travel or other things that you want to engage in your life. Really, it does start fundamentally with being able to sit with self-love and sit with self-acceptance. So we're starting off with Kuan Yin here because she is foundational in terms of the stage we need to set in order to continue to spiritually advance ourselves in other ways and to really live the life that we are ultimately wanting to live. So to help us to understand a little bit of why and how can Kuan Yin be helpful with these kinds of themes, let's talk a little bit about her story. So I'm going to share her story with you now. And before she even came to Earth, before she decided to carnate on Earth as a human, she actually originated from the Pleiadian star system. So those of you who connect with Pleiadian energy, it might be no surprise to you that you are going to connect quite a bit with Kuan Yin if you have not connected with her already. Alternatively, you're beginning to connect with her now might lead you to learning more or a desire to know more or a greater connection with the Pleiadian star system, which is also, considered that, affiliated with the Hathors, as we've heard of. Um, and so she may open up in some ways some growth and more exploring for you to do. So she came from the Pleiadian star system, and actually she never had any other incarnations on Earth prior to this current story and this lifetime of hers that I'm going to share with you. And she only incarnated this one time. She has never incarnated again since. She works with us from another realm, and she's very dedicated to Earth, as already mentioned, but she has only incarnated this one time on Earth. However, the path she chose was quite hefty, and as you will come to hear. So she chose to incarnate to a mother and father in Northern Asia some time ago. And she was in this family, and as part of the custom during that time, she was set to be married by 14 years old. Otherwise, she would no longer be able to be in the home. And she had begged her dad and her parents really to send her to a convent. She wanted to go to a Taoist convent where she could spend her time meditating. Even from a very young age, she had loved being in nature and loved meditating and lived in nearby jungles surrounded, the village in which she lived. And she would often go out and spend time in the jungle, just connecting with nature and being by herself. Well, as a result of her pushing back, which was perceived as pushback by her father, her requests to go to a Taoist convent and not to marry and these sorts of things, he proceeded to punish her physically as a result of her request over and over again. Then, around just before her 13th birthday, the Mongol tribe or the Mongol peoples came into her village and basically murdered and set fire to everything in the village. And ultimately, her parents were murdered right in front of her. She was also brutally raped. So she experienced significant trauma, not only from her family system, but then also from this war that was taking place. And so she was left to die basically in a pool of her own blood. She was left, they left her there, and she was kind of fading in and out. But then as she was, there kind of in and out of consciousness, this voice came to her, and she wasn't sure, was this like a vision that she was seeing? It was kind of like a light being, but she was kind of in and out of it. But this voice came to her and said, "Leave now and go to the jungle." So she gathered up whatever strength she had at that moment, and she left and brought herself into the jungle. And she found a little bit of solitude there, though was experiencing significant symptoms of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder from the trauma that she has experienced. But somehow she was able to feed herself on berries and keep herself physically alive for about 4 years until she was 17 years old. And she lived in complete isolation in the jungle by herself, really in almost a feral-like state, very much a survival mode, and very much fragmented from the extent of the trauma and the abuse that she had experienced. So she continued to spend time in this jungle area, and then all of a sudden this voice is a familiar kind of what she had heard to initially guide her to the jungle. This reappeared to her, and it was this figure, and it was about 20 feet away, and she noticed it, and it started connecting with her. And it wasn't even through words at first. It started connecting her with her through her mind. They were saying to her, I'm not going to harm you, you are safe. And she was intently watching their body, and they stayed, far enough away from her. And she didn't necessarily acquiesce, but she didn't really do anything to drive them away either. It's just really um she noticed rather and just observed them more than anything else at the moment. And this being seemed to come and go, but ultimately seemed to stay around longer and longer, and would bring her food and bring her water and bring her nourishment, and ultimately didn't seem to be going anywhere. It seemed to kind of be there steady over time. And at this point in time, she had experienced a lot of internalized social conditioning. So the state she was in really was um, she had incredible self-judgment for the fact that she was raped. She felt that she was contaminated by that. She had incredible feelings of self-hatred and incredible grief towards the loss of her family and her life and her entire village. She was in deep states of grieving, vacillating with anger and sadness, and really this deep rooted, however, internalized social conditioning around who she was, that she internalized as being something wrong with her and that she was horrible, and really embodied really self-hatred at that time. And this led her ultimately to want to an attempt to kill herself. And as she was proceeding with this, she was stopped. And that same being, that same voice, that same kind of enlightened being came to her. And they were about 20, yards away, and she observed them, and it stopped her really in her track. And she recognized them as some sort of, it was like a luminous being of light, without knowing the words of what an ascended master was, or this idea of like an enlightened being literally, coming and being with her. She didn't really know, but she knew something about this being, right, was special and magical. And she saw them as a master of the light even just then. And you know, she was, of course, very careful and guarded with them. And they they initially connected with her actually through the mind, through telepathy. They didn't even speak any words at first. And they said, we're not, I'm not going to harm you. I'm here to help you. And so she observed and, was hesitant and cautious, especially because those in her life up until this point, no one was really, there were not many examples of those who were trustworthy. And so she watched them, and they kept their distance. And, this had interrupted her from what her path she was going to go down. And so she kind of resigned to be okay with this and stayed alive. And each day she noticed that this master of light would bring her some food and some water. They would keep their distance, as they were, but over time they began to connect more and more. And I mean, at one point they spoke, and that was the first time she had even heard any voice in years. And so this bringing much up for her. And she was angry, and she expressed that to him and put that towards him. And she tried to push this benevolent being away, and um really had pushed back in lots of ways. And yet at the same time, this being returned and was steady each day and continued to nourish her, and continue to give her space, and allow her to do her own process. But it was even by the virtue of being in the space with this, or near in proximity to this being that it seemed to soften her a little bit over time. And it brought her to one day where she woke up and she actually felt softer within her. She felt a little bit softer in her heart. And she woke up one day and there was just a bed of cherry blossoms all around her. And she noticed herself being more open, more allowing of this beautiful being of the light, this master assisting her and helping her. And he allowed her the patience, the care, the attention, the repair that she really needed, but he did so as an equal. So this allowed her to engage in this dynamic and in this relationship in a way that she could tolerate, that felt safe to her. They demonstrated this unconditional love, this continued showing up for her each day, no matter what state she was in, no matter how angry or how many outbursts she had towards him. This being continued to be there for her day in and day out. And she began to learn more from this being of light. In fact, they taught her about meditating over the water. They taught her about how to set intentions with water. They taught her about the ancient practices of praying over, prophetizing over water and how healing water could be. And they would go to the river and to the water falls every day and be in water. She would consume water. They would pray over water. They would work with water to alchemize, okay, to change the frequency from one way of being into another. And over time, doing this, in and day out, she began to feel herself healing. She began to feel herself being nourished. She began to feel these fragmented parts, all this different stuff coming together. She started feeling a wholeness within herself. And so she continued to work with him and she continued to receive from him this unconditional love. And what she noticed when working with this being is that he would direct her back to her own divine nature, her own divine self, her own intuition. When that started, she'd be able to trust that again. He reminded her of her own divine essence. And he taught her about this female embodiment known as Tara. Many of you might know her as green Tara, as white Tara, but he introduced this notion even of a divine mother, a divine feminine embodiment of Tara. And he taught her Om Mane Padme Om. And this is something we will learn shortly here. We'll go through what that actually means. And and so she worked with this chant, she worked with this prayer in a regular way, connecting her with her own divine feminine essence, but and also with this motherly figure, this motherly essence. And in fact, he really connected her with this whole notion that there's a divine father, divine mother, that there's something more, that there is the divine realm that is there and supporting her, that which she can connect to, and that which she has within herself. And this is how she gained trust with him because he wasn't trying to disempower. In fact, he was doing the exact opposite. He was empowering her through these connections, through this encouragement that he was having with her. And so she would meditate day in and day out, and she began connecting more and more to her own higher self and you know more and more to understanding her divine essence, which continued to make her feel more and more empowered. She learned energy healing techniques. Could it have been Reiki? Yes, maybe it was. Indeed, and in fact, I think it was some energy healing through the healing of light. So she learned other practices, and as she came closer and closer to basically her own spiritual pure essence of herself. And then as he built her up and she became stronger and stronger, he kept talking to her about self-actualizing and this idea that she would need to do this on her own now, that he would not be there forever. And she was introduced to, or he kind of channeled to her basically her name. Her name was not Kuan Yin until this point in time. And he said to her, "You are now going to be named, and now your name is Quan Yin, she who hears prayers." And he said, "You are now connected through Sophia, the goddess, is appointing you as Quan Yin so that you can serve out your true divine purpose and mission, which is being the goddess of compassion for others and shining light and showing the way through this dragon golden light energy of karuna compassion, showing them the way that they can achieve this too, just as you did. And you are now going to serve as a guide to others." And so, although she was very disappointed and it was very hard for her to say goodbye to who it was actually Baba Ji, her soul flame or whatever we want to call it. He had done to her what she had actually helped him with in another existence. She had previously helped him attain his enlightened state. And so here he was now coming back to return this to her so that now she was in her fully embodied, enlightened state. And so she returned to society to carry out her role as the goddess of Karuna compassion. And now has reached this state, as an enlightened being, as an ascended master, to work from the other dimensions, right? But with us here on Earth, so that we all can achieve our own compassion with ourselves, our own self-love, as she has been. She is now the teacher of what she has experienced and what she had worked through in her existence on Earth. So she is so excited to be here with us today. She really is. And so pleased because this is part of what her mission is. She wants to continue to help us to reach our fullest potential and knows that part of that path is through self-love and through self-compassion, no matter what we have done or experienced in our life. So, as we now can see from her story, right, we can understand now how she can be such a teacher and a guide of self-love and self-acceptance, as she really had to overcome so much both of societal conditioning from her family system, from the cultural norms where she lived. She really had to do a lot of deconditioning around that, on top of the trauma that she experienced and the internalized messaging and narrative that she then created about who she was as a result of that. So she had to work really, really hard to accept herself again, to give herself love, to forgive others, to forgive herself, to, release the judgment she held. She really had to work quite hard in order to do that. But she is an example that it's absolutely possible. And so she wants to be here to help us in a way that hopefully does not have to be as drastic or intense as her experience, but she is here as a beacon of light to guide us forward. So, what is the path of compassion? What is karuna? Karuna is the Sanskrit root of compassion. And really, it's karuna is really the foundation for ascension. It's also the foundation for well-being. If we don't have a love for ourselves, if we can't find any sort of compassion for ourselves, then that probably means we're not so good at loving ourselves. And by finding compassion for ourselves, that also enables us to then find compassion for others. So the compassion really begins within, with ourselves, and then it enables us to open it up to others around us. So she really, wants us to work on self-love and make sure that we've got this down pat so that when we continue our spiritual growth and spiritual ascension, that we are able to reach our highest potential. And she doesn't want us to do it in the way as difficult as it was for her. She hopes that we don't have to go through any of the stuff that she went through, but we can all use this to some extent in our own lives, in our own existence. So, you know, part of this is about how do we do inner mother work, inner father work? How do we reparent our own child selves when we were younger? Um, and how do we heal anything unresolved from childhood or from adulthood, whatever it may be? How to create a container within yourself that makes you feel safe enough to even do this. And then really deeply, on a really deep level, accepting yourself. So some of these things that she can help us work with is how to let go of kind of those beliefs that were put on you from your family, your friends, from what society says you should quote unquote be doing, that what we're calling social conditioning. So how to release that stuff that doesn't serve you, how to also be present through the healing process, which can be really hard, especially if people have a trauma history and trauma backgrounds. Being actually physical present can be really difficult. And if that is the case for you, you might need some extra um, therapy, potentially EMDR, other specialized treatments for trauma to address this too. Kuan Yin is right there with you on your healing journey as well. So know that she is with you and at your side as you are going through any of these healing processes. And she really wants you to help to create a safe space, which we'll get into during the guided meditation, so that you do feel you have a safe container in order to actually experience these things and do the healing that you need to do to move through it. Because healing can be very uncomfortable. But the thing is we can't bypass the healing. The only way we can do the healing is by going through it. And sometimes that requires us to really look at ourselves, non-judgmentally, and that's where we have to release the judgment, but objectively, so that we can actually surmount and overcome whatever's going on internally that isn't working for us. So this really requires us to be really compassionate and give ourselves grace that this process of healing is not always easy, and sometimes it's messy, and sometimes it's not linear, and ooh, it brings up icky feelings. But do know that she can help you release those icky feelings and transmute those icky feelings. It's kind of the first step is acknowledging what's there. And then once you can be aware of it and you acknowledge it, then you can let it go. Okay. So how do you do without punishing yourself? How do you do it without harming yourself? And she's really here to guide you also through that as well. So when you might want to consider working with her, if you're feeling emotionally overwhelmed, if you're experiencing grief, if you're experiencing a lot of self-judgment, if you're experiencing tough narratives, if you're someone that's using the shoulds a lot, okay? Shoulds indicate judgment automatically. And shoulds are an automatic trigger to say, uh-oh, where are these beliefs coming from? Where am I getting this information coming from where I am using this measuring stick? Why am I using this measuring stick? Did someone give me this measuring stick, or is this one that I really agree with? So part of the work with her might be questioning or challenging some of the ways you've been thinking to get those out of the way in order for you to reach your fullest potential. So with that, self-forgiveness is important, releasing the past, releasing perfectionism as well. So you Virgos out there, I know you struggle with perfectionism, as do a lot of women, especially, and as many people do for all sorts of different reasons, but just throwing those couple out there. And also, she can help us to ask for help when that's hard. So, really, the first step here in this journey is allowing her in, setting the intention to work with her, and allowing her in and allowing her to work with you, being open to working with her. And that's really, really the first step because from there, she will enter into your life in the way that is suited and best works for you. So, how to understand her energy? So, every being has a energetic signature, is what we could call it. So, Kuan Yin's energetic signature is very soft. It's very gentle. It's flowing. It's very feminine. It's easy, slow movement. Sometimes she dances around. Think about, beautiful silks, spinning in the wind. Very airy, and although very connected with water, there's an air, there's a lightness really about her. She loves music and the flute, and she enjoys creative expression. She's affiliated with the scent of jasmine, so sometimes she might come to people and you might smell jasmine. That might be an indicator that she's there and she's present with you. So you might kind of feel this energy around you. Okay. And that her energy comes in that type of form. Now we all interact with the other realms, multidimensional beings in different ways. And so sometimes it's through sense, sometimes it's through feeling, sensory experiences. Sometimes it's through a clear knowing. So, for example, some time ago, I started noticing these little yellow butterflies. And one time I was, it's just being out and noticing them and experiencing them, and Quan Yin just popped in my mind. And then from there, I said, oh, wow, okay. So this is a symbol for, she was expressing to me that this is a symbol. This is a way she's going to communicate with me. This is a way she's going to let me know that she's here. So now, whenever I see these beautiful yellow butterflies, I know that it's her reaching out and her communicating. So that's just one way I communicate with her. I communicate with her all sorts of other ways but these are, you know, they all connect with us in our own unique ways. There's no right or wrong way to connect with them. No right or wrong way. They connect with you in whatever way that they feel like you are able to handle. They don't want to freak you out, right? They don't want to scare you away. So they enter our lives in gentle ways. And so that requires you to be open to noticing, open to being curious, and also be open to trusting your intuition as well. Okay. So, how to create a sacred space with Kuan Yin, some visual prompts that might be helpful for you is she works very much with waterfalls, with rivers, river of peace. She also works with lotus flowers. Think about a lotus throne, also jasmine. In general, she's very connected to flowers. Um, and she also works with these particular crystals as well. Now, if you Google online, you're going to find all sorts of different people saying different things about what crystals she works with or doesn't work with. I trust a particular resource, which I have in a resource slide as well. But it's a particular book that connects with ascended masters. So these seem to be most accurate for me, but also trust whatever works for you and however you feel like you connect with her. So something might be different for you, but we've got dioptopaz, that healing heart, the green calcite, letting go, Larimer being of service, and rhodochrosite self-love. So, as you work with her throughout time, gathering these stones, having them around might be a helpful and a physical anchor for you to use while working with her and working through these various themes that she very particularly helps with as well. So here we are at her Om Mani Padme Om. As I mentioned this before, this was given to her through Baba Ji and related to Tara. So how do you pronounce it? I put the pronunciation down here. Om Mani Padme. Okay. And this is really something that you can say it's about compassion, it's about awakening, and it really helps us to reconnect with our divine self our divine essence. And the meaning of it is hail the jewel in the lotus. And what does that mean? Well, it's hailing, it's calling in, it's ringing, this thing into the universe, into creation. It's connecting with the jewel, really your heart, your soul spark, that fire, that flame, the source within you, what is within you that is the divine essence that makes us have our divine connection. And then the lotus, this awakening, this opening, this blossoming really of the flower. So that's the opening up, right, of your awakening, of your true essence, of connection to your divine self. And then this compassion, this ripple effect going out through space and through time. So this is a beautiful way to also connect with her is by saying Om Mane Padme Om. Om Mane Padme Om. Om Mane Padme Om. And by speaking this out loud or within your heart, this is another tool you can use to connect really directly in with both Kuan Yin and with Tara as well. So we're going to take a moment here and look through these questions. So these are questions that you can prompt, really practical, that you can ask yourself and sit with for a little bit about, you know, ways that you can work with Kuan Yin. These will push you to, ask yourself some questions to help with some self-reflection, to guide yourself through this process. And as you answer these and you go through them, you can also set the intention to release and clear what no longer serves you within the journey that we are going to go into shortly. So at this point in time, feel free to pause the video, take some time and really sit with these questions that can help you again make the most out of the guided journey that we're about to go into. And also feel free to please come back here at any time to revisit these questions or and to do also the guided meditation multiple times if you want to connect in with Quan Yin again and again, and you find the guiding aspect of it helpful. So again, you can pause the video now and work with some of this, and then I will see you very shortly in a guided meditation. So get yourself kind of in a comfortable position, comfortable setting, get yourself settled in, and I will meet you there shortly. As you settle into your sacred space, getting yourself comfortable, noticing the chair or whatever is beneath you, and allowing your body to settle into this place and this space. As you're settling in, I'm going to begin by clearing you of anything that no longer serves you. During this space remains a safe container for all who are participating, and hearing any malevolent beings or spirits away from your body now, your body, your mind, your heart, your spirit. Releasing all of those from you and for you. And taking them away. From the bridge of light, be fully healed and transmuted through all space and all time. As we receive this clearing, notice yourself feeling a little bit lighter, a little bit freer even. As light pours into you wherever you release and wherever you let go, nourishing you completely and filling in any of those dark spaces and voids with the divine golden ray. Now that you are fully cleared and ready to begin our journey with Kuan Yin as she patiently waits, but as you close your eyes, you see the most magnificent bridge of light before you. You're drawn towards it, and while you begin that way, one foot in front of the other, walking ahead of you towards this most magnificent bridge of light. As you step onto the bridge, you feel the light, this red light, pulling up from the bottoms of your feet, up to the base of your spine, filling in as you breathe in, and the energy flowing, then washing out of you back into the bridge as you breathe out. You take another step forward, and this time a magnificent orange energy flows from beneath your foot up until your lower abdomen, filling and flowing through you, and then out of you as you exhale and decide to continue forward and take another step. And as you do, this most magnificent golden light pulls up from the bottom of your feet into your stomach area, your abdomen, fills in and nourishes with the breath that you take, turning in a clockwise direction, filling and nourishing your solar plexus. And as you breathe out, it returns back and to the earth, and you take another step in. Notice the green light pulling up from your feet all the way up to your heart center. You breathe in this green light and fills and pours into your heart. All of those spaces that you opened up by releasing before are now being nourished and filled with this most magnificent green light. And as you continue a step further, the blue comes from beneath your feet up to your throat, filling and nourishing and opening in front and behind, expanding out like a microphone both directions, clearing and nourishing, opening your throat space. And on your exhale, the blue goes back to the bridge, and then on your next step and inhale, you take in the most magnificent indigo light up to your third eye, and notice this space being infused with this most magnificent light. And you take one more step on the bridge, and this magnificent purple rises up to the crown of your head and fills and circulates that area, filling and nourishing. And as you step off the bridge, you find yourself in the most magnificent jungle area. There are birds chirping, butterflies around you, and flowers blooming. Colors you see are of the rainbow and beyond. Take a moment to pause here and look around at the magnificence of this jungle around you, so lush and so green and so alive. You start to see a vision of a being coming towards you. Oh, she is a luminous being. Notice her colors, the way the fabric moves about her, almost as though she's floating towards you. So graceful and so serene. And you almost instantly feel this connection with her coming towards you. Almost as though she's pouring into your heart space from her very own, creating this magnificent bridge between you. Comes closer to you and almost as though she lands beside you. She takes your hand, your left hand, and asks if you want to come with her. He says, I am Kuan Yin, the goddess, Karuna compassion. He asks, would you like to walk with me? And you say, yes, sure. How could you decline what her essence is so magnificent? So you take her hand and she whisks you off, still in amazement as you walk through this most magnificent natural place. There's a path set out in front of you. And you notice that there are cherry blossoms lining the way. Quan Yin is so excited to be with you now. He has been looking forward to this moment, this time with you. He's so grateful that you have entrusted her with this space. He says to you, I want to share all of what I have learned. I want to share my love, my compassion, and my pure essence with you, that you may feel more of your pure essence within you. And as you walk along, almost skipping at this point, you come to a little clearing. You hear the water flowing beside you. In fact, you've heard it while you were walking this whole time, but you didn't have any visual of any water yet. And yet you notice this clearing ahead, and Kuan Yin encourage you towards it, shows you the way. As you approach the clearing, you see through it, and you see this most magnificent waterfall in front of you. You're going to stand there in a moment of awe, appreciation, as you look at this waterfall before you. Both inviting but overwhelming at the same time. Its power, its flow. This is no ordinary waterfall. This is a waterfall connected to the highest of heavens. Quan Yin takes your hand and reassures you. He says, "This is our sacred space. You are safe here, and you may return here at any time." He asks if you would like to undress and leave your clothes on a nearby log. He's eager to introduce you to the medicine of the water, to the healing nature of the water. He begins to enter at a lower area where you can walk, and there's sand beneath your feet, smooth, and the water is cool, but it's welcome and refreshing. You feel the light from above, incredible golden light shining upon you, ushering you, pointing you towards the waterfall. He asks you in this moment if you have thought about what you would like to release, what you are ready to let go of. You take a moment, perhaps some things come to mind. Perhaps there are things that are out of your awareness that you'd like to let go of because they're not in your highest and best interest. Kuan Yin reminds you that judgment does not help anyone, that hatred or resentment to self or others is best to release. Anger towards oneself or blaming of oneself or others does not get one anywhere. He says to you, it is safe to recognize that inside of you, those lower frequency, lower energy feelings and emotions, hurt and suffering. It is okay to acknowledge that those are there. It's okay to recognize them. There's nothing wrong with you for experiencing those. And it is also okay to let those go now. You see her hold out her hand and usher you towards the waterfall now. And you slowly begin to walk towards it. She teaches you of the water. She prays over the water with you. Om Mane Padme Om. Om Mane Padme Om. Om Mane Padme Om. And as she speaks this prayer, you feel safe to enter under the waterfall. Let go, she says. Let go. You are safe now. Let go. As she speaks, you feel this amazing force of water come over you and wash from your head to your shoulders, all the way down your body. You feel it running over you and washing you and clearing you, almost as if it's not only outside of your body, but within, clearing, cleansing, wiping, ridding you of all that you're ready to release and let go. It's safe, she whispers. It's safe. You are safe. And you allow the water to keep rushing over you as she speaks Om Mane Padme Om. Om Mane Padme Om. Om Mane Padme Om. Light from the highest heaven shines upon you now. Pouring into you. Begin seeing the light. All that you've washed away and are washing away continues to make space for the light to fill you in all those places and spaces. Direct connection with the light from the highest heaven, igniting your soul, spirit essence within you now, burning the flame within you, lighting up the very essence of who you are. The beloved, worthy, powerful, sovereign creator. That is your destiny. That is your birthright. Notice now, as you open your eyes, that there's another bank across the way. Kuan Yin is ushering you there. She says, take your time. Stay in the waterfall of cleansing for however long you need. When you are ready, I will meet you over there. So take a few more moments and release anything remaining that you may have forgotten about, want to let go of, allowing that magnificent light to fill you in and nourish you. When you feel ready, you step out of that powerful flow of water. Now to be able to hear the magnificent song of the birds. And you follow one who's flying to the other shore. You make your way out and notice Kuan Yin up ahead calling to you. And you follow her there. And before you, you see the most magnificent throne, but not just any throne. Throne of an enormous lotus. He asks you to come lay down on this lotus throne. And that you will allow some additional healing from her. You walk towards the throne, take a seat, feel the most magnificent relaxation as you lay amongst this flower. Petals enveloping you and cloaking you and covers you in the most magnificent silk sheet. You lie there and rest. He begins anointing you with the oil of jasmine. First on your third eye, and on your heart. You reconnect you with your intuition now. Whispers in your ear. Trust it. It is safe. Trust yourself again. Hands over you and holds hands above you, one hand above your third eye and one over your heart. Feel this magnificent energy flowing into you, connecting these pathways and activating these dormant pathways within you now. Gathers up the jasmine oil, anoints your abdomen area, your power, your strength. As if by magic she lays another hand over your abdomen, connecting all three power centers within you now. You are worthy, she says. You are loved. You are the only you. And it is as if that moment you realize how important it is that you are the only you, only one that can embody your frequency. She says this is the most important of all. You were made so that you can embody your true essence, your authentic self, who you are. Awaken to this within you now. Awaken to this within you now. You are precious just as you are. You are loved just as you are. As she speaks these words, your body feels flowing with magnificent flowing energy within you. Heart being filled and nourished. The deepest of love, unconditional love. He steps back for a moment and pulls out a basket filled of cherry blossom petals. And she sprinkles them all over you as though adorning your preciousness, your vessel. And even though her hands are no longer on you, sending her energy, her healing energy, you still feel this pouring into your heart. Back, you start to notice that it feels as though you are pouring into your own heart at this time, filling and nourishing and loving yourself completely. I am worthy of loving myself, you say. And Kuan Yin delights as she hears you speak this. He says to you, you may come back here anytime. You need to remind yourself what it feels like to be loved, what it feels like to love yourself. This lotus throne is for you. I will meet you here, he says. As you lay there now with your heart overflowing, feel it's such a state of peace, coherence, and alignment. Brightest light shining upon you. You soak in the energy and the light as Quan Yin once more speaks and sings again. Om Mane Padme Om. Om Mane Padme Om. Om Mane Padme Om. As he speaks it, he asks if you're ready. Return now. Beside you are, and you begin gathering yourself. The lotus throne props you up so you can right up. Begin walking towards the shallow part of the river. Banyan offers her hand again. Hand in hand, you walk across the river. You notice you feel lighter and filled with almost a feeling of joy or contentment, feeling of peace. And as you get to the other side, you see the log before you where you left your shoes and belongings. Take a moment to get breath and you begin to walk back towards the bridge of light. Kuan Yin stops just at the entrance before you enter the bridge. He speaks to you. Know that you are loved. Know that you are worthy of compassion. Know that you are perfect just as you are. Know that you have healed much here today. And know that you can return here any time. I will meet you here. I will be waiting. Before you go on the bridge, he opens her hand and hands you something. Take a moment to see what it is. It's a gift she would like for you to take with you, something to remember this place, something to remember your true essence. You thank her and feel a deep sense of gratitude in your heart. Perhaps you give Kuan Yin a hug and express your gratitude to her. You said, call to me anytime. I am the one who hears all prayer. I will hear you. I am here for you. Bye for now. And with that, you turn to the bridge and begin walking along through the purple and the indigo, through the blue and the green, through the yellow and the orange and the red. With one more step, you find your feet planted on the ground. Back to this place and to this state in which you are physically at this moment. You may stay here as long as you'd like. Thank you for being here. Thank you for participating in this. I hope you've enjoyed this experience. I hope you have strengthened or found a new connection with Quan Yin through this experience. If you have enjoyed this, please like, please subscribe, and also please check out my courses, including the monthly Ascended Master course and the monthly Archangel course that I offer, where you will experience energetic clearings each session, along with teachings on a particular Ascended Master or Archangel, as well as a guided journey with Reiki to connect more deeply with the divine beings. I offer a safe space to do this and to really establish a magnificent connection with the divine beings who are our teammates on this journey. So thank you so much for being here. I really greatly appreciate it. Please share this with whomever you think may benefit, as it is Quan Yin's mission to spread this self-compassion and this golden dragon light for humanity. And it is my mission to work in concert with the Ascended Masters and the Archangels to help more people to access them. So thank you so much for being here. I'm really grateful. And I hope you join the monthly Ascended Masters and Archangels. Thank you so much. Here are the resources I was speaking about, so feel free to check these out. particularly liquid crystal oracle is a great one for the stone. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for being here. Been great sharing this space with you.